So when you decide to be a beekeeper, you usually get all motivated and you put yourself a swarm catching box out somewhere, either if you're in the city, there's quite often a swarm that you can catch, so you bait it all up with your blooming oils and all the rest of it, and you catch yourself a swarm and or you get a swarm call from a neighbour who knows you're a beekeeper and they say, we've got a swarm hanging in the tree, can you come and get it out of the tree for us? And so you go around there, you knock it in your bee box, and then you get up and you do a little dance because you go, yes, I'm officially a beekeeper. Look at me go. I've got a box of bees and it's all good. But you know, then a little bit further along the beekeeping line, when you've been at it for a few years, you get a swarm call and you go, how big is it? And where is it? And how long's it been hanging in the tree? And then you ring up your mate and you say, oh, mate, I don't know, you want a swarm? And he says no, so you have to go and get it anyway. But it's interesting on the journey of this deal. It gets really crazy. Anyway, that's not the premise of this video. I just wanted to say that as you go along a little bit further, you start getting a bit particular about the bees that you've caught and which ones you want to keep and which ones you don't. And so I've come up with this great new plan, and it's called the no glove plan for bees. My plan is, if you can't open the bee box and actually start looking at the bees without any gloves on, then they deserve to be removed from the apiary, or at least their boss removed, and amalgamated into something sensible that you can work. Because I'm working on a plan that I might be able to go in my beehive and not get stung to death. Don't try and light your bag in the bloody wind. Ah, hell! It's good when it's windy and it's going, but still. The bloke who had a smoker originally just had the bag and a stick in him and go, or something weird like that. Or maybe it was an old bloke with a pipe and he was working his bees and he found out that they didn't sting him as much when he had his pipe going. I'm not really sure. Must have been a time when they were out there with a leafy stick and they didn't actually have this fancy bee bellows. There's probably certain places in the world that still don't have bee bellows, isn't there? But so anyway, it fascinates me how humanity goes through this journey. Does anybody else sort of wonder? Anybody else think about those sort of things? How did we arrive at these situations? It's interesting. I wonder if my grandkid will believe, well, I might have more than one grandkid eventually, but hopefully I do. I wonder if the grandchildren would believe us that once upon a time we actually had to drive the bloody car, it just didn't drive itself. I mean, it's a bit like if you had to tell a kid today, your blooming phone used to be hooked to your wall, they'd go, don't be stupid. What do you mean it was hooked to your wall? What do you want about? And what's more, you couldn't go on the internet on your phone. You could only make phone calls. They'd think you're bonkers. As a matter of fact, back in the day, we didn't even have the internet. So hell, we thought we were all modern. The real flash people, they had more than one phone in their house, so they didn't have to go to the kitchen. The kitchen was always very awkward talking to your girlfriend when your mum decided she didn't like the conversation. She'd start banging the pots around and make all sorts of noise. Anyway, it kept you honest, didn't it?
Get on with it.
Get on with it. Right, here we go. Now, just for entertainment, I caught these two little swarms, hell, I don't know, in the spring anyway, so a couple of months ago. But they were really small, so I thought, in my wisdom, I'll put a bit of, what the hell is it called? A little bit of fly wire between both of the hives, both of the swarms, and then I'll just boom and pull the fly wire out a little bit later on, and then the queens can figure out who wants to be involved. But I got a little bit busy, and I haven't pulled the fly wire out, and so now I've actually got two hives activated over here, so I've got two separate hives in the same spot. So the reason that sort of works though is because you get a little bit of warmth from the bottom hive and the top hive, and they all keep each other warm, so they don't have to work so hard to keep it warm, so then you can send more workers out so that they can build up quicker. Anyway, so my point is, I'm waffling again. My point is that when we come over here, there's actually two separate hives sort of sit next to each other, well, on top of each other, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so if you're wondering, oh, shivers, back. This is very high tech. I've put a little stick here so the girls could have an entrance at the top, because when I popped them in here, there was bees and stuff going everywhere, so I wanted to reorientate and be able to get in. So my fly wire is separating them, and I've got some ladies down here, of course, with their own queen, and some ladies at the top. But we're going to do an evaluation, which is called the no glove evaluation, to see who's going to get to be the boss and who's going to get off on a journey of their own. Are we ready? Pretty intriguing, really, isn't it? We've got an entry up here for one lot of bees, entry down here for another lot of bees. I don't know, what's that, 2 foot apart if it's lucky? And how bloody accurate are they? Can you just think about that? They're accurate enough to know where they belong. They're coming into this box and the girls are going into that box. They just know what's happening. I'm pretty reckon that's pretty fascinating. Hell, I don't know that I'd be that accurate without my GPS, but still. So this is a little bit very basic genetic testing, I think. That'd be genetics. I guess they're genetics. I bet bees have got genetics. We'll give them a little bit of smoke in there. Then we'll just open our little clip. Take our lid off. They're not a real strong hive. Oh! What are we doing, chicks? And we'll give them a bit of smoke, obviously, to fire it up. Keep my fancy opening. That'll be right now. They're not going to be stupid like they were. You can see there's a queen up the top here laying nicely. I don't know where she is. Did I bring a queen cage with me? That would have been a good idea. I think I did. Is it in my actual trouser pocket or... Yep, cool. That's something. I was thinking I actually put it in my pants pocket and then I wouldn't be able to get to it. Right, so I don't think she's on that frame. We might just shake them off a bit. They're a bit busy on here. Anyway, I'll pop that down there for a minute. Okay, so they're a little bit excited. Oh, okay, come on, just behave. Everybody be nice. Otherwise, you're destined for something other than friendliness. They're not the prettiest looking bees, but still, that doesn't matter, does it? Pretty doesn't count for much around here. I wonder if we're going to find her. Hopefully we can find her. There's not that many frames in here. She's definitely busy. She's got some little larvae going on in here. Dear, dear, dear. Where, oh, where would you be, your majesty? Majesty bee. Come on, you've got to be here somewhere. That would be right. We can't find her. Her. But it's completely important that we find her, but it would be helpful. They're not very big bees. Anyway, that doesn't really matter, does it? Rightio. Anyway, well, that's all very good. So they passed the initial inspection test, because they haven't stung me yet. And we're going to pop them on the lid. We'll have a look at the girls underneath. We'll see what sort of trouble they're in. We'll just make sure she's not on the mat here. I can't see her there, so it'll really suck if I mix them all up at this stage. Now we'll just have a look in here. Is there anybody? Yep, so there's still someone laying down here too. Whether we find her or not. I was hoping we'd at least see them. Well, these girls are just about ready for a new box all to their own, I think. If all of this hatches out, they're going to have to get out of this little nuke box pretty soon. Oh, come on, everybody. What's going on? Where's your boss? Ultimately, at this particular moment, since we're probably going to keep both of them, we don't need to find her, but it would be helpful, but she's not going to be in it. She doesn't want to be found. Do you, princess? Well, actually, you're a queen now, aren't you? You would have, I wonder if the little queen bee, before she flies out, is a princess, before she's a queen. Something else that I found out on the course we did the other day was that the little nurse bees, when they're coming up through the ranks, they have the little mandibles on their head that make the juices that feed everybody. I knew that the nurse bees fed all the larvae until they capped them off and did all of that. I didn't realise that they fed all the rest of the bees as well. I mean, that's pretty intense. You imagine saying to your kids, well, you know what, you got to feed me and carry my poop outside. I mean, golly gosh, it would be a bit of a... I don't think they'd like that idea. turning society on its head a bit, wouldn't it? Oh, bum. Anyway, we have not actually found the queen, which is a bummer. I don't think we need to, and they're not quite ready to separate. This is going to end up being a boring video. I thought it was going to be good. I had this great plan. They all went stupid, and now I can't because she's not stupid anymore. Maybe I killed her accidentally this morning, and that's why they've all calmed down. Oh, shit, John. What a circus. Look at that. See? I berated you into coming out and helping me do this, and it's not even worth doing. Bloody hell. That's stupid, isn't it? She's probably hiding up under there, but I don't really want to make too much of a mess. Heck. Well, they both passed the no glove test, so I guess we've got to keep them both for a little bit longer. Let's pop our little separator board back on. If you're going to do this again, cut your fly wire just fractionally bigger, because this is very, very, very only just enough. Because when I originally popped this on here, I actually left it so as that I thought, well, the queens will blooming, find each other, and one of the strongest one will kill the other one, and we'll be all, it'll sort itself out. But that didn't actually happen, because when I've come back and checked them like you've seen today, I've got a queen down the bottom and a queen up the top that's laying away nicely. They're keeping each other warm so they can breed a bit quicker. So instead of having two little swarms to create one big swarm, I'm hoping my two little swarms will turn into two big bee boxes. So, hell, I don't think I've invented anything new, but it's kind of cool. So we'll pop these back up here. I'm thinking that if I go forward with this idea a bit further into the future, though, of having the two boxes together, I probably should design an actual bit flasher entrance for the girls at the top than a stick under the lid, because that's probably a little bit rough. But hell, it works, so there you go. You never know unless you go somewhere or something, isn't it? Yeah, chicks, all back together. Well, summing it up, well, I think they're both just drifting along nicely. Neither of them are angry enough to dispose of at this point in time, and they're still not really strong enough to put into a big box, which is why I put this box here not so long ago. Since here, shall we accidentally have a look at what happened to this box? Because when I was getting set up for this little shot, I lifted the lid on that box and a bloody swarm's gone in there and all, so we might as well have a look at them since we've gone to all this trouble of getting suited up. I sat this box here, I was going to separate these two, and as I was waiting and getting organised, the swarm turned up and jumped in here as well. So, you know what, when they just turn up, you just got to go with, oh well, yeah, turn them into something productive. Uh-oh. Although, there is a problem. Because the reason this didn't actually have any proper frames in it when I put it here, because I was going to use those frames. Oh, John, look, it's only a little tiny one. Mate, if that ain't the smallest swarm you've ever seen, goodness me. Oh yeah, she's laying, but I'm not gonna disturb her too much, because that's ridiculous. I'm just gonna push them across a bit. I've already dropped a bit of honeycomb off her. That might be another project, because if we cut her apart with that tiny little bit of bloomin' workforce, she's definitely dead. When you get a swarm call, ask them how big the ball is, because when they're that small, they're not going to make it through summer, so it's hardly worth your aggravation, especially if they're more than half an hour's drive away. So if you're a new swarm catcher, ask them for the size before you get in your car and hurry off. Not that any of this actually went. You know this show is totally unscripted as 98% of the time. The one time we decided to have a little bit of a scripted episode where we thought, right, these girls at the top here are a bit toey, the girls down the bottom are not so toey, so we'll do a no gloves test and we'll get them to sting me, which will be funny, of course, hardy ha ha, and then we'll be able to catch the queen and we'll be able to make one decent hive out of the two boxes that were pathetic little swarms. But you know what happens? That's why we don't plan this show, because it just goes to shit. It's just as well just to make it up as we go. Fuck, what are we going to do with that funny little thing? A funny little swarm in there. It's ridiculous.